The millionaire surprises by saving the pregnant girl with an unexpected act. The emergency room was a chaos of beeping machines, shouted orders, and running footsteps. Matthew, the renowned obstetrician whose name flashed on every major hospital billboard, stood at the center of it all, his hands steady despite his pounding heart. Tonight, something was different. The usual rush of saving lives was tangled with a storm inside him that shook his very core. A young woman was rushed in. A pregnant girl. The hospital buzzed louder, the walls closing in like a cage. Minutes ago, this woman had been the love of his life. Now her pale face, twisted in agony, was a reminder of everything lost, and maybe something still waiting to be reclaimed. As doctors scrambled, Matthew moved forward, his gaze sharp, his touch gentle but urgent. The baby's heartbeat fluttered on the monitor like a fragile flame. Without warning, memories crashed through the fog. Quiet dinners, angry words, laughter swallowed by tears. The daughter they once dreamed of, but never found, shadowed every secret glance. And then came the shock. During a quick DNA test to rule out complications, a whisper floated to Matthew's ears. The baby might, just might, be his. Emma, the child Lisa had raised with David, her devoted husband now pacing in a corner, could be his biological daughter after all. His hands trembled, a lump froze in his throat. How could he break into the life Lisa had built? David, the man who had stood. Was this truth something he could handle? Was fatherhood just in blood, or something deeper? The room stilled momentarily, tension stretching tight. Then the doors burst open. Matthew's phone buzzed violently. David's name on the screen. His voice was cold, brittle with suspicion. I need to know the truth. Now. The air thickened with secrets, with promises and lies ready to unravel. Just as Matthew took a deep breath, scrubbed in, and prepared to cut into the fragile thread between life and death. What would happen after the scalpel made its first move? Could he face what awaited beyond the OR door? The story was just beginning. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube has removed their subscriptions without warning. Just take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss out on any exclusive content coming your way. And while you're there, leave that powerful like that helps me a lot with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know all the amazing people who are part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Matthew steadied himself, breathing in sharp gasps as he scrubbed in. The chaos of the emergency room swirled, but his focus narrowed to Lisa on the table, her life hanging by a thread. As he prepared to make the incision, David's voice crackled through his phone, harsh and unyielding. Matthew, don't you dare keep me waiting. He glanced at the screen, that cold stare coming through the speaker almost suffocating him. He couldn't delay. He glanced at Lisa, lost in moments of longing and regret. But just as he was ready to initiate the procedure, an unexpected commotion erupted from the waiting area. A woman burst through the swinging doors, breathless and wild-eyed. She wore a white coat, the emblem of the hospital shining on her chest. "Stop!" she shouted, her voice carrying a weight that silenced everyone in the room. All eyes turned to her. Doctors, nurses, and anxious family members caught mid-distraction. "What is happening?" Matthew asked, stepping forward, heart racing. The woman's gaze darted to him, and the world around felt still. "I have urgent news about Lisa's condition, and the baby." Matthew felt the air thicken, a storm cloud of uncertainty swirling above him. "What do you mean?" Before she could respond, the woman lifted a small piece of paper, trembling in her hand. "This DNA test, it wasn't just about paternity. It revealed something much darker. There's a life-threatening complication. The tension broke like a distant thunder, and whispers danced around the room. The steady hum of machines turned into a cacophony of uncertainty. Everyone held their breath, waiting. Not only is Lisa at risk, the doctor continued, her voice breaking slightly, but there's a high chance her baby is carrying a genetic disorder, something inherited. Matthew felt the ground drop beneath him. Memories of laughter and dreams of fatherhood morphed into a live wire of panic. What was she saying? Was Lisa's child not only his but marked by a profound threat? Just then, a second figure pushed through the crowd. Lisa's mother, a seasoned nurse known for her fierce loyalty and unbreakable demeanor. Her face was pale, fear etched deeply into her features. "It's worse than you think, Matthew. There's something I've kept from you. That child, it may not just be Lisa's." The words hung heavy in the air. His thoughts tumbled like rocks down a steep hill. "What do you mean?" Louder now, her voice cracked through the chaos. "The father may not be David, and there are threats lingering in the shadows of this family. Things that go back years. Secrets, betrayals." Matthew felt a chill ripple through his spine, a truth dawning too late. "What are you saying?" Her eyes searched his, raw with a depth of sorrow he couldn't grasp. As the pieces began to spiral out of control, Lisa's vital signs began to fluctuate on the monitors, alarms chiming like screams. Then, in a heartbeat, everything changed. The codes erupted on the machines. The room erupted in urgent shouts as people rushed to stabilize her. His heart raced, and fear clawed at his insides. A hidden truth, deep-seated regrets, and love entangled like a ruthless vine. Then it hit him hard. If all this was true, if Lisa's baby carried a secret darker than any storm could bear, the implications were monumental. Was he ready for a fight? Did he even have the right to sever those lines that defined lives? He stood frozen, the scalpel trembling in his hand as the world spun wildly. Just as he thought he had grasped the truth, everything slipped away from him again. The story wasn't just beginning. It was spiraling into chaos. Matthew stood frozen, the scalpel trembling in his hand. Alarms screamed as Lisa's vital signs began to fluctuate. His heart pounded, then sank, each beat sinking with the chaotic noise surrounding him. Every thought screamed to move, to act, but the weight of the revelations held him in place. Then, as if a shadow had passed over the room, the air thickened with raw electricity. The woman in the white coat, the second doctor, stepped forward, her eyes frantic as she clutched the piece of paper as though it were a life preserver. "There's something else," she shouted, urgency spilling from every syllable. "What? What else?" Matthew's voice cracked, drowning in dread. Her words tangled in the whirlwind. "That child. It might not be just a carrier of genetic disorder. It could be part of a much larger risk group. We need to act fast." Everyone shifted uneasily, sounds blending into a murmur of confusion. Lisa's mother stepped closer, whispering harshly, "But what if it's worse than we thought?" At that moment, a shattering cry pierced the air. A nurse staggered into the room, her face as pale as the hospital walls. "We need to evacuate. There's a bomb threat." The words hung heavy, a dark cloud of panic descending over them. Heads turned, fear flickering in their eyes. Chaos spread like wildfire as voices escalated into shouts, every nurse and doctor scrambling to respond. They could either save lives or save themselves. But Matthew stood still, paralyzed in disbelief. "What do you mean, a bomb threat?" He searched the nurse's eyes, but all he found was terror mirrored back at him. The urgency he felt for Lisa battled with the primal instinct to protect himself. David's call still rang in his ear, cold and commanding. "Get everyone out. We don't have time," the nurse urged, her voice trembling. urgency clear in her tone. As he looked at Lisa, her lifeless body sprawled on the table. Matthew felt the ground shift under him. With the prospect of a bomb looming, this time the fight was now not just about paternity, but about survival, a nature he'd never expected to encounter again. With a sudden sense of clarity, he made his choice. He wouldn't allow fear to control him. "We need to stabilize her," he shouted, directing others as adrenaline surged through his veins. He turned back to the team, hands steadying as alarms blared, shouting directives in the back of his mind. "We can't abandon her." Then, just as he leaned in, trying to focus on Lisa, her mother spoke, voice low and urgent. "Matthew, if there's a chance her baby is yours, we need to do this." Could he risk everything to save Lisa, the very woman who once shattered his heart? Right then, it hit him. Shocking, paralyzing realization washed over him. The truth wasn't just about parentage or lies. It went deeper. Too many lives were intertwined, wrapped around secrets thicker than blood. Before he could respond, the power flickered for an instant, light collapsing into darkness as another shriek echoed through the emergency room. And then the explosion came. A thunderous roar filled the air, shockwaves slamming through the walls as they crumbled around them. Time slowed. Silence reigned for a breath. Then chaos returned, but now it was a mad dash, people screaming, falling debris, chaos erupting in every corner. Matthew's heart raced as he turned toward the terrified face of Lisa's mother, understanding dawning on both of them. This was no longer just about the child. This was about life, death, and the secrets that could shatter everything they had ever known. The world spun out of control, leaving only one question lingering. What would they face when the dust settled? Matthew's heart raced, each beat sinking with the chaos around him. The explosion had thrown him back, knocking over equipment, the sound echoing like a war cry through the stunned silence. Dust swirled in the air, mixing with the acrid smell of smoke, piercing the tension with a new urgency. Confusion turned to panic as people shouted and searched for help. "Get Lisa out!" he shouted, lungs burning. Adrenaline flooded his veins, drowning out fear. But before he could reach her side, the lights flickered back on, revealing a scene painted in vivid horror. Bodies scattered and equipment lay in ruins. The emergency room was a wasteland of urgency and despair. "Matthew!" Lisa's mother screamed, her voice raw with panic. "We have to go!" "No, we have to stabilize her," he argued back, feeling a surge of desperation. Lisa was still there, lying still and pale, vital signs fluttering like a dying candle. He couldn't just leave. But before he could act, a figure emerged through the haze, silhouetted against the chaotic backdrop. It was David. He stumbled in, face streaked with dust and fear. Matthew's chest tightened. The man was supposed to protect Lisa, but here he was, panic radiating from him. "What's happening?" David yelled, scanning the room. "They need to get her out," Lisa's mother begged, her eyes frantically darting. "We don't have time." Matthew took a deep breath, struggling for clarity amid the storm swirling in his mind. He could feel the weight of David's gaze, filled with suspicion and confusion. As he eyed the woman he'd claimed as his own. "Help me, David," Matthew urged. "We have to act now." Without warning, from the corner of the room came another sound. The piercing wail of a siren, clear, distinct. It sent a chill racing down his spine. The evacuation alarm. They were at risk of another explosion, and Lisa. Oh God, Lisa. As chaos reigned, David rushed forward, determination etched on his face. Together, they gathered the medical team and moved towards Lisa. A nurse dashed past, shouting orders, but no one knew where to evacuate. It felt like time had stopped, frozen in this harsh reality. The unexpected arrival of the bomb threat, loomed larger with each passing second. Matthew's hand trembled on the scalpel. He could feel David's presence behind him, tension thickening the air. Then came another sound, one that sliced through the chaos. A loud crack echoed, and debris started falling from the ceiling. Panic surged, but what came next shattered everything. Lisa's mother collapsed to the ground, clutching her chest, eyes wide with horror. "I can't breathe!" Matthew rushed to her, the urgency encompassing him. "Someone help!" he shouted, but the room spiraled into panic. "Stay with me," he urged her, feeling the life flicker in her eyes. As chaos unfolded, another shattering revelation struck him. "Wait!" He turned back towards the group, a realization breaking through his tangled thoughts. What if that baby, what if Lisa's child was meant to be someone else's? Not just David's or mine. What if it was? A wave of confusion washed over everyone. Piercing silence descended, and the echoes of the previous threats faded. Just as he connected the dots, a nurse shouted, "We have to move now!" But Matthew couldn't shake the chilling thought. An unseen force had been pulling rumors together. A thread of twisted secrets woven deep within their lives. Just then, a figure emerged from the smoke, spattered in dust, features unrecognizable, yet familiar in a way that made his stomach churn. It was her brother, Tom, who had gone missing years ago. "I told you to stay away," he yelled, voice wild. "They don't want you here." Matthew's world tilted. The words hung in the air, threatening to unravel everything he thought he knew. "Tom?" Matthew's voice trembled. "What did you mean? Who is they?" Panic erupted anew as Matthew's focus shattered along with his perception of reality. Who were they? The bomb threat felt insignificant compared to the secrets lurking in the shadows. Time seemed to stretch and fold, leaving only one question lingering in the charged air. What truths lay in those buried words, and who would survive to face them when it all came crashing down? Matthew's heart raced as he stared at Tom, the shadow of confusion spreading through the crowd. "What do you mean, they?" He tried to anchor himself but felt the world upside down, reeling from both the explosion and Tom's words. Tom stepped closer, his wild eyes darting around, the panic palpable. "You don't understand. They want to erase us all. We must get Lisa out, now!" David's hands clenched into fists at his sides. "What are you talking about?" He looked between Matthew and Tom, suspicion flashing. "Who's coming after us?" Lisa's mother, still gasping for air on the floor, drew to a sudden halt, her gaze locking onto Tom. "How could you?" Her voice dropped, the betrayal cutting through the chaos. "You disappeared. For years." The air thickened with tension, a melody of fear, confusion, and anger humming across the room. The flickering lights cast eerie shadows. Momentary. "It has to do with the baby, with Lisa." He looked straight at Matthew, a twisted realization dawning. "Those who wanted her child, they're the same ones who came after me." "What does that even mean?" Matthew's voice broke. He held on tightly to the scalpel, feeling the weight of his choices crushing down. Something inside wanted to sink into the revelation, to understand, but confusion churned in his gut. Suddenly the power blinked again. A deeper darkness crept in, as panic erupted anew. A loud crash echoed, debris falling from above. The collective scream rose like a tidal wave. "Everyone out!" A voice rang out, but all anyone could do was look around in fear, uncertainty clawing at their minds. "Move, move, move!" David shouted, pulling at Lisa's mother, still teetering on the floor, clutching her chest. Matthew made his choice in a heartbeat. He'd waited long enough. "I'll stay with Lisa," he yelled, the urgency forcing clarity through the chaos. "We need to stabilize her first." But as he turned back, ready to jump into action, something struck the ground with a heavy thud. A second figure stepped through the haze, someone covered in dust and dirt, but unmistakable. It was Lisa's father, A man long thought lost, stepping into the emergency room alive. "Stop!" he bellowed. His voice echoed, shaking the very air. "Don't you dare touch her!" The room froze, every face turning to him with disbelief. "You have no idea what you're meddling with." Matthew's heart thudded painfully. "What do you know?" The truth tumbled out, raw and ugly. "I left to protect the family. They're after the baby, Matthew." Tears streamed down Lisa's father's face, mingling with despair. "They want her to be a weapon, a pawn in their deadly game." Everything shifted. Matthew's mind reeled from the implications, a storm of emotions crashing around him. "Weapon? What are you talking about? Her father had secrets, dark ones that led to my disappearance," Tom whispered, motioning toward the door, wide eyes pleading. "And now they're coming for you. We need to go." But before anyone could move, the room shook again, this time with more intensity, a final explosion, severing the last threads of stability. The weight of uncertainty hung thick in the air, smothering them. The walls trembled, and dust filled the room. Screams erupted anew, but Matthew's mind reeled. All thought of paternity, love, and betrayal flooded back. The pieces of a puzzle he never wanted to see were shattering before his eyes. Fearing for Lisa, the child, everyone, they were all snared in a twisted web of secrets. And now, in this terrifying kaleidoscope of revelations, he had to choose. How far would he go to protect them? Who could he trust when the truth felt as fragile as the life hanging in the balance? As dust swirled around him, Matthew was filled with doubt. They wouldn't just fight to save lives anymore. They'd battle for the very essence of family itself. Matthew's body tensed as the chaos enveloped him. The shadows from the debris danced ominously across the room, each flicker igniting a new wave of fear. He could feel his heart hammering against his chest, loud and desperate. With every muscle taut, he turned to Tom, whose face was etched with worry. "Tom, what do you know about all this?" Matthew's voice sliced through the tension, pulling everyone's gaze. "They're coming for all of us, Matthew." Tom's words spilled out in a rush. "They believe Lisa's baby is the key to what they're after. You don't understand how deep this runs." "What do you mean?" Matthew demanded. But before he could process Tom's response, the power flickered again, plunging them into darkness for a heartbeat. His gut twisted, an unsettling premonition rising within him. Suddenly, without warning, something exploded from the back of the room. A flash, bright as the sun, blinded Matthew. He stumbled back, thrown off balance. The walls shuddered, another explosion booming as the horror of reality showered around them. Desperate screams filled the air, mingling with the suffocating dust. Then, amidst the cries, a voice rang familiar. No, it was Lisa, her voice threaded with pain, emerging from the haze, clutching her belly, as if trying to shield the life inside her. "What is happening?" Her eyes darted around the room, confusion etched on her face. Time slowed. Every breath felt like a weight lifting, but a new terror gripped Matthew. "You should be on the table. What are you doing?" He rushed forward, heart racing. But then he saw it, a piercing light in her eyes, something raw and unforgiving. "I felt it. I can't let them take her." She pointed wildly, past Tom, beyond the crowd, and then with a thunderous roar, a fireball erupted outside the building, lighting up the night sky in an inferno. For an instant, everyone hesitated, fear clinging to their throats like a noose. In that flash, Matthew saw Lisa's father, stepping forward with controlled urgency. "They've come for the baby," he bellowed with a fierceness that shook the ground beneath them. "You have to protect her. They'll stop at nothing." "Protect her from what?" David shouted, the chaos around them momentarily forgotten. The room held its breath as Lisa's eyes locked with Matthew's. Then everything crashed down at once. The shifting truths, the layers of betrayal. "It wasn't David," Lisa whispered, as if revealing a secret too heavy to carry. The baby isn't his, it's... And suddenly, the world shattered again. A furious figure lunged from the darkness, wrapping itself around Lisa. It was a woman, wild-eyed and disheveled, a ghost from the past Matthew never expected to see. "Leave her alone!" The woman screamed, desperation spilling over. "You have no idea what you've done." Matthew's breath caught in his throat. "Sarah!" His mind raced back to the familiarity, the sister who had vanished years ago, leaving questions unanswered. "You're alive?" "I had to hide," she cried, tears streaming down her dirt-streaked face. "They took Lisa's DNA, the truth of who she is. They're after her because she's more than just a child. She's a gateway." A gateway? Every implication of that word felt like a blow. Matthew's throat tightened. Gateway to what? Value, secrets, power. Sarah spat, her words tumbling out like stones. "You're all in danger. But they're not just after the baby. They're after you, Matthew." Shock reverberated through the crowd, each person exchanging glances filled with disbelief and dread. It was as if the very foundation of their lives was crumbling. Matthew's heart raced, feeling the tension spike. If the truth was a weapon, who would survive the fallout? He looked at Lisa. Fear then confusion danced in her eyes. Between them, the weight of countless unspoken words crouched in the air, ready to explode. And then, another explosion echoed, shaking the building once more. Dust fell like rain as reality twisted once again. "What do we do?" someone shouted from the back, desperation creeping into their voice. "Get out!" Matthew roared, but something deeper held him in place. Was he ready to face the truth and what lay beyond it? Amidst the chaos and confusion, Matthew felt the ground shift beneath them, their lives spiraling out of control. With every passing moment, everything he thought he knew shattered into a million pieces. The question loomed. What was Lisa's secret, and what did it mean for them all? As another wave of chaos surged forward, they had to make a choice. Would they fight their way through the storm, or let it consume them entirely? Matthew's heart raced as the dust settled, the air thick with fear and confusion. He looked at Lisa, her wide eyes mirroring the uncertainty that gripped the room. Time felt suspended, holding its breath as they faced the chaos swirling around them. "Matthew," Lisa's voice cut through the tension like a knife. "What's happening?" "That's what I'm trying to figure out," he shot back, desperation choking his words. Shadows flickered across her face, and his mind raced. Could they really protect the baby from the threats lurking in the dark? Above them, another explosion rocked the building, rattling the very foundation. Cries of terror erupted all around, people scrambling for exits, pushing each other aside in their haste. The room felt like it was closing in. "Get her out!" David shouted, the panic elevating his normally steady voice. "We're not safe here." "No," Matthew countered, resolute. "We have to stay. She needs medical attention." But before he could say more, a crashing sound echoed through the chaos. The air was thick with dread as Tom gaped, eyes wide. "It's all connected. This isn't just an accident. They're coming for us." Suddenly, the lights flickered, plunging them briefly into darkness, only to be replaced by an eerie, flickering light. "What now?" someone shouted, panic brewing. Then, like the sky opening up, a door at the end of the room burst open. A figure dashed in, silhouetted against the light. It was Eric, Lisa's estranged uncle. Rumors about his shadowy dealings had haunted family gatherings for years. The sight of him sent a jolt through everyone. "Get away from her," he shouted, lunging forward, eyes wild with something dark and desperate. "Eric, stop!" Lisa screamed, but her voice was lost in the noise. "I'm not a pawn in your games." "Games?" he spat, fury etched on his features. "You think this is a game? You're in way over your head." Just then, Another explosion roared outside, a cloud of flames licking the sky, a sudden, violent reminder of their precarious situation. Bodies hit the ground, chaos erupting again. "Lisa, come with me!" Eric shouted, reaching out. But at that moment, the world tilted, and a deafening sound drowned everything out. It erupted, a blinding light, consuming everything around them. Matthew shielded his eyes, and when he could see again, time seemed to freeze. There, amidst the wreckage, lay a large object, something dark and ominous, glistening. Everyone stared, confusion melding with dread. "What the hell is that?" David whispered, his face pale. Matthew stepped closer, the air thick with fear and uncertainty. I don't know." And then it hit him. What if that wasn't just debris? His eyes widened in horror as clarity washed over him. What they thought was a threat was something far worse. "Wait!" he shouted, and everyone fell silent. What if it's a bomb? That name rocked them all. Unspoken words floated in the air. The implications shattered all hope. How do we know they're not targeting Lisa? Targeting the baby? Panic rooted Matthew to the spot. Lisa's eyes filled with fear, hands trembling as she clutched her protruding belly. "No, but I didn't. I thought it was safe." But Eric's expression shifted to something more sinister. "Safe? Nothing is safe anymore. The baby, she's the key, and you've led them straight to her." The revelation slammed into him, each word a nail in the coffin of his understanding. Was Lisa truly the target? A fierce instinct surged within him, a will to protect, but doubts tangled in his mind. Was the baby truly a weapon, as Eric suggested? "Stop! You don't understand!" Sarah shouted, stepping forward. The weight of her truth hanging in the air. "I thought I was protecting you all, but I didn't mean to put you in danger." The room vibrated with tension, each revelation turning friendships into fractures. Matthew felt a storm rising, shaking the very foundations of their connections. "Then what do we do?" David's voice quivered, uncertainty washing over him. Eyes shifted, conflict brewing in silence. The question lingered. How deep did the deception go? And as they faced the unsettling truth that Lisa's baby might not just be a child, but a target in a deadly game, the stakes had never been higher. With that, the walls began to tremble again, an impending doom creeping closer. Each heartbeat echoed the unspoken fear. Would they find a way out, or was this the moment everything crumbled? As the dust settled around them, suspense loomed thick. What lay ahead for them all? The very essence of their existence was on the edge, teetering precariously. The walls began to tremble again, a low rumble that seemed to resonate from the very depths of the earth. Everyone froze, breaths caught in throats like knotted strings. "Get Lisa out," Matthew shouted, veins coursing with adrenaline, but the air felt thick with inevitable dread. Suddenly, in a swift motion, Eric lunged forward, blocking Matthew's path. "No, she has to come with me!" His voice was a desperate, raw whisper. The eyes in the room darted between Matthew and Eric, confusion thickening the air. "Let her go!" David stepped in, fists clenched, tension building like a storm cloud. "You don't know what's happening. We can't trust you." Eric shot back. "You think I've come here to hurt her? This is bigger than all of us. They'll kill." Another explosion outside shook the ground, sending dust raining down. Lisa stumbled, eyes wide with terror. "Stop! Everyone just stop!" She raised her arms, trembling but fierce. The room stilled, but even silence couldn't hold off the chaos for long. Matthew's mind raced. "Lisa, please, we need to focus." The weight of the moment pressed down on him, the lump in his throat thickening. He needed clarity. Just then, Tom's voice broke the tension. "Matthew, listen, I can explain everything. There's something you don't know." "Tom, now isn't the time," Matthew snapped, heart pounding. I'm serious. I didn't just disappear. I was taken. They wanted me to help them. His eyes were wild, desperation painted across his face. Those threats? They're a part of a much larger scheme, all tied to Lisa's baby. Matthew's resolve cracked, a sliver of doubt seeping in. What are you saying? Tom stepped closer, urgency flooding his words. The child, Lisa's baby, is the key to something immense. And if we don't protect her, they'll use her for their evil. A shiver coursed through Matthew. What evil? The question hung like a noose amidst the chaos. Then, without warning, a loud crash echoed from the back room, sending everyone whirling around. A figure burst through the doorway, silhouetted in the flickering light. One they all recognized too well. "Mom?" Lisa's voice trembled. But there she stood, Lisa's mother. Her hair disheveled, clothes drenched in dust. "You need to come with me now." "But how? You weren't here," Lisa sputtered, confusion slashing through her mother's frantic demeanor. "I've been fighting to protect you. They're closer than you realize." The urgency in her voice was thick, trembling against the banging and screams echoing from outside. As if summoned, another explosion rocked the building, cracks spreading like veins across the walls. "We can't wait," she yelled, voice cracking with emotion. "They know about the baby, Lisa. She's not just a child. She's part of this family's curse." Matthew's breath hitched. Curse? The words sent chills racing through him. Lies piled on lies, building a wall he hadn't seen before. Then Lisa's mother turned to him, eyes piercing. "You need to understand. All these years, the secrets, they'll destroy us." Okay, just tell me." The fear gripped him, tied them all together. What's really going on? And then, in that quiet moment, it happened. Lisa gasped, a cry that split the air. "No, it can't be." She crumpled to the ground, clutching her belly, panic swirling in her eyes. "The tests. I never gave them permission." A wave of horror washed over Matthew. "What tests?" "The DNA tests they took, the blood samples. They weren't for reasons we thought." Her voice trembled, shaking as she spoke. I'm not just pregnant. I'm connected to them." Then the world seemed to tilt as realization crashed in like a wave. Her baby. It was never just a child to them. "What do you mean connected?" he pressed, each word tearing at the heart of everything he thought he knew. But before Lisa could respond, the lights flickered violently, and in that moment of darkness, a blinding light erupted from Lisa's belly. A sudden, overwhelming surge of energy that lit up the room. It felt like the world had split in two. Matthew didn't understand. Was this a threat? An attack? Fear gripped him, and all at once, everything he'd known felt like it was crumbling beneath him. In the next breath, everything shattered. "You need to see this," Lisa's mother screamed, as images of memories, fearful shadows, danced before everyone's eyes. A tapestry of betrayal, forgotten truths, echoing futures. Matthew's head spun. "What have you done?" he shouted, heart racing. "You're telling me you've been hiding this?" And then, like clouds clearing to reveal an unforgiving sun, a voice echoed from the shadows, deep, familiar. "You didn't think I wouldn't come for her, did you?" The room fell silent as they all turned, fear gripping them at the sudden appearance. It was David, but not the David they knew. He took a step forward, and everything changed. In that one moment, Matthew felt the world shatter once more. This was far from the end. It was just the beginning. Matthew's heart thudded painfully as he tried to process David's sudden appearance. The tension in the air was suffocating, thick with unspoken words and fear. "You didn't think I wouldn't come for her, did you?" David declared, stepping into the chaotic scene like a harbinger of something darker. Everyone held their breath, eyes darting between David and Lisa. "What are you talking about?" she managed to gasp, the fear twisting her expression into something close to panic. But David only smiled, a cold, chilling grin. "You think you know everything, but you've been living in a lie, Lisa." He took a step forward, every movement calculated, predatory even. "You're not just a girl who ended up pregnant. You're a pawn in a much larger game." "What game?" Matthew asked, anger bubbling beneath the surface. "What the hell do you mean?" The room felt impossibly small. David's smile widened. "You think I came here to rescue you? I came to end this. Make everything clean." "End what?" Lisa's voice was a whisper now, trembling as she realized the weight of his words. Suddenly, a loud crash came from the hallway, the sound of shattering glass, splintering wood. The air hissed with panic. Tom shouted, "We have to move!" But David didn't budge. "You have no idea what's coming." Matthew grabbed Lisa's arm. "We can't stay here. We need to go." Then, as if on cue, the lights flickered violently overhead, plunging the room into fleeting darkness once more. When they returned, the atmosphere felt charged, electric. A whisper of danger floated in from the shadows, wrapping around their throats. And then it happened. A scream, a gut-wrenching, soul-piercing scream erupted from Lisa. She clutched her stomach, eyes wide in horror. "No, please, not now!" In that instant, everything shifted. David's expression morphed into something almost sadistic, eyes gleaming with anticipation. "You're not just having a baby. You're giving birth to a weapon. You're the key to their plan." "What plan?" Matthew demanded, grounding himself in the chaos, trying to keep Lisa steady. But before David could answer, time seemed to halt. There, amidst the madness, shadows came alive. Dark figures began to slip into the room, their faces obscured, eyes glinting with an unmistakable thirst for control. An urgency filled the air, pregnant with darkness, and a realization hit Matthew like a punch to the gut. "We have to go, now," he shouted. But chaos erupted around them as the figures swept closer. "Get down!" Tom yelled, pushing Lisa behind him. Suddenly, the shadows surged forward, chaos swirling as they closed in on the group. David stepped back, and in that moment everything went haywire, an explosion of light, blinding them all. Then, out of the brightness, a figure emerged, strong, confident, and unmistakably familiar. It was Sarah, Lisa's sister, her face twisted with determination. "I couldn't let this happen," she shouted, brandishing a strange device that flickered with energy. "You can't take her!" The collective gasp that followed hung in the air like a poison. Every eye widened, connecting the dots no one wanted to see. "Sarah, what do you know?" someone asked, voice shaking. But before she could respond, another shadow shot forward, aiming straight for Lisa. Panic unleashed. Matthew moved, feeling the rush of adrenaline, arms outstretched to protect Lisa. "Stop!" he yelled, but his voice drowned beneath the din, consumed by the chaos. Just as the shadow advanced, everything seemed to spiral into darkness. And then it hit him. The weight of confusion and fear tightened around them all. The true nature of their relationships began to peel away, layer by layer, revealing raw truths. Sarah wasn't just Lisa's sister. She was a protector in this twisted game, one set on a collision course. But it was too late. As the shadows converged, the ground shook, and the very foundation of their reality began to crumble. The room exploded with light, the cries of fear mingling with disbelief as secrets tore through their lives like shrapnel. Matthew caught a glimpse of Lisa's shocked expression as the truth hit, shattering everything he thought he understood. And in that one explosive moment, relationships fractured beyond repair. The pieces of their lives fell away into the abyss of chaos, leaving them grasping at straws, desperate to understand the enormity of what was unfolding. As light consumed them, the last thought that crossed Matthew's mind was a haunting question. Could they survive the storm that was now crashing down on them? The unknown loomed, threatening to engulf them all. Matthew's heart raced, eyes darting around the room as chaos erupted. Lisa screamed, clutching her belly, while David's icy smile twisted into something alarming. "You don't understand," he snarled. But before he could continue, shadows lunged forward, darkness closing in around them. "Get down," Tom shouted, and everyone scattered, the room echoing with panic. Matthew grabbed Lisa, pulling her close, feeling the rapid pulse of. "Help us," he yelled, the urgency rippling through his voice. "I'm trying," Sarah shouted back, brandishing her device, its lights flashing defiantly. "They can't take her. We have to protect her." The shadows surged again, voices rising over the clamor. "Get the baby!" cried one of the figures, their intentions clear. Another explosion rattled the walls, dust and debris cascading from the ceiling. In that moment of chaos, clarity burst within Matthew. "We need to fight back." He knew this wasn't just a battle for survival. It was about protecting their future, the secret they were all embroiled in. "Lisa, hold on to me!" he shouted, determination surging. "Matthew," she cried, eyes wide with fear. "I don't know if I can." "Just trust me," he said, his voice steady, grounding them both. With every ounce of strength, he pulled her into the fray. Sarah pressed a button on her device, sending a shockwave that rippled through the room. Light blazed, illuminating their surroundings and pushing back the encroaching shadows. "Now, while we have a chance." Everyone moved as one. Confusion turned to urgency, and panic turned to resolve. They dashed towards the exit, shouts and warning cries mixing in a chaotic symphony. The shadows lurked, but now they recoiled from the light. "Keep going," Tom urged, leading them down the hallway, Lisa clinging desperately to Matthew. "We have to get to the roof." As they ran, echoes of explosions and chaos followed them. The weight of fear settled heavily in Matthew's chest. But determination burned brighter. They could survive this. They must. They emerged onto the rooftop, the cool night air hitting them like a wave. Breathless, Matthew looked around, trying to gauge their next move. Shadows still prowled below, but the stars above shone brightly, a reminder of hope amidst despair. "Do you think we're safe?" Lisa asked, her face pale but resolute. "For now," he replied, scanning the sky. But the silence was short-lived. A helicopter appeared, slicing through the darkness with powerful beams of light. "There! We need to get to it!" They rushed towards the edge, the familiarity of urgency fueling their movements. But just then, the light from the helicopter illuminated David, who stood at the edge of the rooftop, a dangerous glint in his eyes. "You think you can escape? You're all too naive." Matthew stepped forward, protective instincts flaring. "You won't touch her, not while I'm here." "Fool, it's not just me." He laughed, but it turned into a grimace as Sarah pressed the device again, a surge of energy throwing David back. "Now!" Tom yelled, and they rushed towards the helicopter, real freedom within reach. Moments later, they were in the sky, gazing down at the world slipping away. Relief washed over them. But as Matthew held Lisa close, their eyes locked. He felt a tingling weight still lingering in the air. "Are we really free?" Lisa whispered, doubt shadowing her voice. "I hope so," he said, squeezing her hand, but uncertainty bubbled within him. They'd uncovered only fragments of the truth, and the dangers still lurked somewhere in the shadows. The helicopter flew into the unknown, leaving their past behind. But the question remained, what awaited them in this new dawn? As the city fell behind, Matthew knew one thing. This was just the beginning of their fight, and together they would never give up. Now, dear friends, it's your turn. You must subscribe now to stay updated on the next thrilling chapter of this story and more. Smash that like button now to help feed the algorithm. And don't wait one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to know this ending. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories because your voices matter. This is the moment to show your support. Get ready for the next adventure. You won't want to miss it.